It's the Center Fantasy Football Podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal!
Yes! Yes! Yes, this is my favorite part of the game.
Analyzing all of the league matchups week to week.
You can't win!
Get him a body bag! Finish him!
That is a bit above average.
I said this sucks, and basically so do you.
And discussing the boom, bust, and hidden gem players throughout the league.
We ain't found shit!
What the hell is Brett Favre doing here?
I'm in town to play the Dolphins, you dumbass.
Dan Marino should die of gonorrhea and rot in hell. Laces out.
Touchdown!
And here's your host,
Allow myself to introduce myself.
David Harbatkin. Hello and welcome to the Center Fantasy Football Podcast for Week 6 of Season 6. We're almost at the halfway point. I am your host, David Harbatkin, joined by a slightly occupied, with his video games coach of the Hackettstown Hagglers, Mr. Gay Zaletzky.
I'm playing God of War, all right, for PlayStation 4. It is an epic game, all right?
Yeah, so if you hear little buttons clicking in the background, you'll know what it is. All right. But he has assured me that he can pay attention to two things at once, so we are going to try and have him pay attention to fantasy football and this podcast right now. We'll see if it works. All right, so a lot of exciting games last week. Two that certainly came down to the Monday night game. One that came down that could have been decided on any play. I guess we might as well start with what was the most exciting game of the week last week, which was Whalers versus Nick and Jamie. So
yes, I called this to be the game of the week, by the way, and it was.
Yeah, and it was actually the it ended up being the closest game in league history ever. The record before that for closest margin of victory was .16. This one was .14. So congratulations on that. Nick and Jamie have been in two just games that have basically been decided by one play, and this is another one. So the Whalers ends up winning this game 128.62 to 128.48. I mean, we are talking about the difference of, what is that, 2 yards? 2 yards rushing could make a difference in this game, and it almost didn't happen. But let's go through the numbers on this game, and then we could go into the analysis of what actually happened. So Flacco gets 12.22 points compared to Cam Newton's 22.38. Galladay gets 19.8. Golden Tate only gets 9.2. So definitely the Whalers had the edge in that matchup. Tyreek Hill, one of the new players acquired by Whalers, gets 12.7 points, which is exactly the same as what Edelman got, which was 12.7 points. And then here was the real one of the things that made this game so close. So Kareem Hunt got 16.4 points, but only 6.9 for Kamara. Coming back with Ingram coming back, we'll see, and we'll discuss how Ingram coming back will affect Kamara's numbers going forward. And, I mean, we definitely saw how it happened this game, but we'll see how it goes in future games. But let's get into some more of the numbers. 20.5 points for Mixon, 23.7 for James White, 27 points for Zach Ertz, one of the other players acquired in the deal with Minor, to Gronkowski's 13.5, 9.5 points for Crowder, 13.6 for Jimmy Graham, and then Butker, the kicker, for the Whalers, got 13, 9 for Gostkowski, and 7 for the Houston defense, and 8 for the New Orleans defense, which kept making this game very interesting on Monday night. We both were talking while watching this game on Monday night, and I was actually communicating with Whalers on Facebook, not being able to believe what we saw. I mean, after we went in, after the Sunday night game, it seemed like this game was a lock, that the Whalers had this one, he had to really sweat it out. So I don't know. Why don't you give your thoughts on this game?
Well, Willis, I believe, has won 3 straight. So first off, congratulations to him. He, I don't think, maybe he saw the Kamara thing coming because he was heavily trying to dish Kamara off. So maybe he knew that this was coming. I mean, 6.9 points for Kamara. I mean, have we even seen any numbers like that? 41 points last week to 6.9. Whew, what a dip. I wonder if Whalers is concerned about that in the long run. And Zach Ertz, I mean, that's minor giving away. Like, one of the best tight ends this season has been Zach Ertz. I mean, tight end is so horrendously thin in this league. You gotta wonder a little bit, but Whalers definitely pulled the trigger at the right time. Eifert went down, and he certainly got himself a dandy of a tight end in Ertz. That's going to be a big problem. Crowder, it was funny. We were watching Crowder and Kamara couldn't come up with 4 points for the entire night. I mean, the Redskins' offense is horrible. And the thing about Whalers is I've been watching his quarterback streaming. I mean, this is his 5th or 6th quarterback this season, maybe 5th. He rolled with Trubisky 2 weeks in a row. Otherwise, it's been a new quarterback. He's rolled with the likes of Eli Manning, Flacco, Marcus Mariota, Trubisky, and now he's going with Jameis Winston, I believe he picked up this week. So I guess it's out of necessity for the Whalers. He just has to find somebody
Streaming
inadvertently streaming garbage can quarterback. But yeah, that was a nail biter. I mean, if Kamara doesn't get that last carry for 4 yards, he loses this game. Or if the Redskins get sacked by Nick and Jamie's defense, loses the game. Oof.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. The New Orleans defense just kept getting point after point. I mean, there would be so many turnovers in that game. And just when you'd think the Whalers might be able to close the gap, they would get another interception and they get another 2 points. And you're thinking to yourself, you just need Kamara to get a catch. It was the same situation that Nick and Jamie found themselves in against Tillett Trade Team in the first week, where Amari Cooper just needed 1 catch, and it just never came. Luckily for the Whalers, it did come. It came in the form of, what was it, a 7-yard run or something like that for Kamara just at the end of the game, basically. Yeah, but this is one of those games that you just gotta. Thank God I was not playing in this game or on the losing end of it, or you either, because I don't think either one of us could have taken. How do you lose a game like this? It's just so, especially to fall out of first place for this kind of game. This is painful, Bob, but it is some irony considering what happened in week 1 and how they won that game. So, basically, you see, Nick and Jamie. We talked about this last week about how, had they had Gaten Casimir's record schedule, they could have had a very different beginning of the season than they did, and they would have been in first. They wouldn't have been in first place, which Casimir could have been. But you see, this is 2 games right now that are decided by less than a point. The combined, it's not even that both games. Both games, first of all, were decided by less than a point. But these are 2 games combined that have been decided by less than a point. So,
now Nick and Jamie's team, they're Patriots, Chiefs heavy. This Sunday night game, unfortunately I have to play Nick and Jamie this Sunday night. They've got 5 players going, I believe, in that Patriots Chiefs game on Sunday night. It's going to be wild.
Yeah, it's basically 1 game. And that's what they did this week. On the Thursday night, essentially most of their team went on Thursday night. And the interesting thing was, I think Whalers posted on Facebook something to the effect of, can Nick and Jamie have any more Patriots going in this game? And then I responded, well, at least they don't have Michael or Michelle or whatever his name is in there. And then right after I posted that, he scored a touchdown, so he was like, thank God that he didn't. And really thank God that they didn't, because otherwise, when you have a game decided by this close a margin, that would have made the difference. Obviously I'm just trying to look, because, Michael got 18 points. How do you say his name? Michelle? Is that how it goes?
Sony Michelle?
Yeah, Sony Michelle. All right, so 18 points. So had he played him instead of Graham, Nick and Jamie would have won. Other than that, not. I mean, Yeldon would have also won the game for them, which he could have gone into that flex. I mean, there's a lot of things that could happen there that that could have helped them to win the game. But good win for the Whalers, and he's on a streak, and he's looking pretty good. Nick and Jamie still, of course, they're in second place, so not not trouble. Well,
4-1. I mean, that's just fine.
yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is that we had talked about in previous episodes about how this was a team that basically had built themselves to maybe even lose the first few weeks, and then they were going to have a whole bunch of guys come in from suspension or injuries or whatnot. Well, it was mostly suspensions, and that they were going to be a formidable team once that happened. And then when they got those wins at the beginning of the season, they looked to be even almost unstoppable. But the interesting thing is now that Edelman's back, he's definitely performing. But it's ironic that now is when they actually finally go down, in a loss. But
and the narrowest margins in fantasy football history.
Yeah, I know. So, great game. I guess we can move on to the next. Well, why don't we go on another game that was decided by some Monday Night Madness. So the 1603ers played Make Odwin Great Again this week. You called this one what? The lock of the century, I believe? Maybe even the millennium?
Yes, the lock of the millennium.
Right. Now, you ended up being correct. However, it was a lot closer than we thought it might be. As the 1603ers do pull out the win, 127.50 to 119.32. But this one was way closer than we thought. And Monday night really made it that much closer. So disappointing performances basically from everybody who wasn't a running back on the 1603ers. So Matt Ryan gets 16.4 points, 7.8 from Ridley, 8.4 from Boyd, 9.1 from Rudolph, 4 from Crosby, which, that's another thing I want to talk about with the 1603ers is the inability to pick a field goal kicker that can get any points. Luckily he got the 4 because they gave him a charity kick at the end to get his head on right. But this guy is one of the best kickers in the league, and what does he do? He blew 4 missed field goals and 1 missed extra point. It was unbelievable. I've gone, I think, 3 of the 5 weeks so far with 0 points from my kickers. This one had 4, so 2 of the 4 with 0 points, and then this one. So yeah, that's just tremendously frustrating. But then Jacksonville with 4 points, and then for the running backs, this is where it really turned around for the 1603ers. 22 points for Gordon, actually kind of pedestrian for him. 34 for Connor, and 21.30 for Mark Ingram. On the bench, there was a little point, a few points left on the bench. I guess Kute would have been the highest score over there, 17.3. And then for Make Odwin Great Again, he got 0 from Inouye. He got 11.9 from Lindsay, 19.9 from Alfred Blue. I have to give Dr. Hockey a lot of credit on picking up Alfred Blue in that game. With Lamar Miller out, who would have thought this guy would have gone for this kind of point total? First of all, that game put me to sleep. You and I were watching it, but but he managed to get these little dink and duck points, and that really pulled him closer in this game. Rosas, one of his better players, gets 14 points. Which Taylor is this? I don't even know which Taylor. Taiwan Taylor, okay. Got 4 points in his flex, 6 for the Dallas defense. But he managed to get 33.72 from Breeze on that Monday night game. It looked like it was getting closer. 29 points from Adams in the second half of that game. But it was really that 33 from Breeze that made it look close. And there was even a moment there where they had their third string quarterback run it in, which had Breeze been the one to run that in, we would have been looking at a lot of, a very different game, because that would have been an extra 6 points for the touchdown, and I would have been sweating it out. I guess it probably now in hindsight wouldn't have changed the result, but it would have been very stressful. But anyway, the 1603ers do pull out the win. I got to give credit to Odwin for still making moves and still coaching. He's just not able to put some of this stuff together. And a new one, it gets 0 points. What happened there? I guess he has a hand injury. I don't know, but yeah. And Vance McDonald, he's sticking with him. So, good moves on half of it, and then terrible moves on the other half. But anyway, your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, that Monday night game was very exciting. Drew Brees was just throwing the ball up and down the field. It was hockey's only chance. And Brees almost pulled the throw. You might not be on the podcast tonight if he had. Or very subdued Dave Hart blackened. But, of course, things worked out handsomely, as usual, for the 1603ers. And Dr. Hockey, the number one question you got to ask, where do you go from here? 0-5, tied with Gabe and Casimir. We'll do a little segment later on in the show, like, what 0-5 team is a bigger train wreck? Who has a better chance of going 1-5? Actually, I'm sorry. What is it, 1-12 versus 0-13? So we'll discuss that later. But yeah, Dr. Hockey, if it wasn't for the second half of that Green Bay game, Devontae Adams, he was struggling. I know you might have beat him 127-33. Brees would have had all the points on his team. But he picked up blue. That was nice. The Vance McDonald train, Dr. Hockey. He's the backup blocking tight end. How many times do we have to say that before it seeps into your thick skull? You got to get rid of this guy. Let's do this again. He's the backup blocking tight end. Hence 1.6 points. Okay, he shoved somebody to the ground on a long touchdown. That doesn't make him starting material. Tywan Taylor was probably a desperation, but Rosas is actually one of his most dangerous weapons. I'm very impressed with him this season. But as far as the rest of this team goes, Lindsey got ejected for fist fighting a couple weeks ago. And Nungwa played. He did an Eric Decker where he played and got 0 points. So I don't even know what to say about this team. This is a candidate for the 0-13 analysis later on tonight. That's the best thing I could say for Dr. Hockey. And Dave, single digits for the wide receivers. Just definitely an area of concern. But, of course, the running backs came up big once again as Ingram comes back with 21 points. Holy mackerel. Much to the chagrin of the Whalers, who looks like Kamara's on his way out. Who would have thunk it? But, that kicking situation, that's got to be cleaned up if you want to go anywhere in the postseason. And, other than that, that's pretty much straightforward. Hockey made it a lot closer, I guess, than it should have been.
Yeah. And one of the things to consider, yes, the kicking game has been just the bane of my existence, going all the way back to last season in the championship game when Zerline slipped on a banana peel and, for the Hagglers, then we had to go replace him with Elliott, and then Elliott misses the field goal in the championship game. How many times do then we had Zerline again this season, second week, played, kind of played, but then pulled his groin, on the sideline, so I get 0 points out of that. I had Dan Bailey, when he was signed by the Vikings when they played the Buffalo Bills. They got 0 points that game, or maybe they got 6 points, but the kicker certainly got 0. In a game where the Bills just completely upset the Vikings because, of course, I had their kicker, and now Mason Crosby does this, which is just uncanny. So I don't know what to do with this kicking situation. Because here's the other thing. Right now I think I have the. Do I have the second most points for in the league right now? I think I do. I certainly did last week. Yeah, I still do. With 703. But you got to consider that's with barely playing, without a kicker. How much better could this team have, be right now if they would just have a kicker? Because right now, while we're still in first place, it's a long season. So we'll see how some of these twists and turns go and how that point total is going to make a difference, not only at the top, but for a lot of these teams. But anyway, yes, we do have to get our kicking game back. As far as the wide receivers, it is concerning. It is 1 week. I'll let you know next week if I have any lasting concern over this thing, though we did pick up a wide receiver, Kirk, I believe, on a flyer to see if he does anything, just in case some of these wide receivers don't continue to perform. All right. Anything else in this game?
Nah, it's pretty straightforward. It's just a closer whooping than it, was
Yeah, but,
built to be.
I mean, we always do this. We always lose to the teams that we shouldn't lose to. This is why I never pick my team, because you never know. All right, what game do we want to go to next?
All right, so that was the 2 Monday night thrillers. Let's go to the other thrashing. Anglers versus the Lightning.
Okay. Yeah, well, now you can do your analysis over which is the worst team. Well, since it's your team, go for it. Go with your little analysis right there.
I've been getting garbage offers for DeAndre Hopkins. The latest one, I believe, was from Eugene, who's offering us Sammy Watkins and the still questionable Devontae Freeman, 2-for-1 for DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, I showed this to somebody on my phone, and within 3 seconds, they're like, garbage. That was your initial instinct. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is really coming on. Despite the Houston Texans' horrendous red zone showing, that was the worst game I've ever seen in a very, very long time. I mean, they were 0-5 in the red zone, maybe 0-6. They were terrible. All right, Hopkins still had 22 points. The Watson-Hopkins combo meal is starting to really take steam. Woods, hopefully, I mean, lightning rods with snake bit. I mean, he had 3 players with 0. The Rams had -1 for the longest time, but 3 topping Dr. Hockey, 1 player with 0. Gaten Casimir says, anything you can do, I can do lower. He rolls out the 0 trio in Brandon Cooks, Safarian Jenkins, and the Rams defense. So Cooks got his bell rung, which worked out handsomely for Robert Woods, I must say. And then Safarian Jenkins is out. I guess he has the core muscle injury, so he's done. I mean, this team, Kerryon Johnson went out with an injury. I mean, my God, 85 points. Tevin Coleman is obviously no Devontae Freeman. I don't even know Devontae Freeman's no Devontae Freeman this year. There's more holes in a Swiss cheese factory on this lightning rods team, but I mean, you get to tussle with him this week.
And I'm sure he'll do better than he did. What did Hockey get? 60 points last week. This week he gets 100 and something. So the Lightning Rod's got 85, which means we're gonna at least need 135 to win this next game. I guess. I don't know.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, they certainly play better against me. Yeah, I mean, look. Yeah, Coleman not that great. Kerryon, I mean, 3, so many injuries on this team right now that happened in mid-game during this game, so that hurt them. For you, Robert Woods was definitely the beneficiary of that because they were, of the Cooks' hellacious hit. And Adrian Peterson, that has to give you some concern, though. Your running back situation. I mean, first of all, Hines ended up getting 16 on the Thursday night. And a lot of garbage time, just little dink and dunk points. It looked like, because what did he have? He had like 7 with about 8 minutes to go or something like that, and then he ended up, and the Colts were being blown out, but he ended up finishing with 16, which was amazing, and in complete and utter garbage time. There were stale ham and cheeses that were being thrown to him all game. And then Adrian Peterson with only 6.2 points. I mean, how many times were we looking at the end of that game on Monday night? We were just standing on the sideline, helmet on, ready to go in. Coach put me in, but he wouldn't put him in. Is there any?
Well, apparently he dislocated his shoulder magically. I didn't see any of that.
Okay, well, yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. Well, I'll give you that then. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Whatever. I mean, who cares about this game? Second week in a row that you got the biggest blowout of the week. I mean, what do you want me to say? I mean, these are lightning. You know, it's the 2 for hockey. You know, Gate and Casimir combo meal. I mean, Miner's going into it for the next 2 weeks, so just expect his record to go up by 2. I mean, what are we supposed to say at this point about these teams? The only way that they're going to get any coverage really is if one of them pulls off an upset. I mean, basically, it's just a question of which one do you want to lock for the week. Do you want you are you going to give Gayton's opponent the lock, or are you going to give Hockey's opponent the lock? Because that's basically all that we're questioning at this point. I don't even know what to say. You get the win, biggest blowout of the week once again, but now you have to start playing real teams. So, you know, you survived your two games, with no upsets. So yeah, that's all I got to say about this. Do you have anything to add?
Are league members being called the combo meal?
Well, they're getting chewed up by every other team in the league. I mean, until they do something different, I don't know. I guess I'm giving Gayton bulletin board material, even though he's not going to be listening to this. And if he is, my face is plastered. If it is, my face is plastered to the side of the subway train that Gayton drives for a living. So any of you who are in the New York City subway system, let me know if you see an angry man with my face sitting at the front of the car, because otherwise, I just don't think that he's going to be listening to this. Whatever. I don't know. But maybe. Maybe he listens to this every week in the car, and then suddenly a train will get derailed for me. What?
All right.
So speaking of blowouts and Miner, he before eating his combo meal, he had himself a little appetizer. With an somebody that I did not expect, somebody who was at the top of this league, or at least, what has happened to Dave's Secret Crush ever since he made that Elliott trade? I don't know. I mean, look, we've had 2 people who have been, going crazy on the trade officers left and right. I don't know. Whalers and Eugene. Can we almost say that Whalers might be a more savvy trader than Eugene Gazenput?
He looks like a low end trader 4.
Eugene, we're talking about. So you're saying that Whalers is a high end trader 1.
Yes.
Interesting. I mean, he did make that deal for Ertz.
You need to quit his day trading job.
Yeah. I mean, Whalers ended up getting Hill, who wasn't bad and played well this week, and Zach Ertz. In a terrible tight end market, he ends up getting a great tight end, whereas Eugene just gave up. I mean, basically, he came on the show and started criticizing Lombardi about, just trading for names. And then he goes and just trades for a name with Nick. He gave up an extra wide receiver. Look, Javarius Allen is not that great. Nick should have insisted on Marshawn Lynch, although this week Lynch did have a worse game than Allen did. But nonetheless, I don't know. Ever since that Elliott trade, he's been going backwards. All right, so let's look at this game. Black Ice Dynasty, with his newly traded players. I mean, maybe he has to be in the conversation about being a mid-range trader 2. I don't know. Black Ice Dynasty wins this game 130.94 to 96.64. Eugene can't even get over the 100-point mark. Only 18.34 points for Goff as opposed to Cousins. Oh, and this is another thing we have to discuss. What happened to the greatest quarterbacks of all time? First of all, he's not even playing the greatest quarterback of all time, Mahomes, who only got 17.82 points on his bench, which was still 1 more point more than Kirk Cousins. What happened to the greatest quarterback of all time, Keys?
Of all time.
Of all time.
Are we playing matchups here? Because I guess he's going up against Jacksonville. So
Yeah, but I mean Philadelphia for Minnesota. I don't know. Terrible game for both of them. Although there were a lot of bad games for quarterbacks this week, actually. Michael Thomas with only 11.4 points, as opposed to Grant in Indianapolis with 11.8. Sanu, this was actually a good pickup by Eugene, although he did try to shovel him off in the garbage can to you. To no avail. But 17.3 points for Sanu, certainly concerned for my team as to whether or not he's going to be taking numbers away from Ridley. He has been of late, but this is like 3 games in a row that Sanu has gotten double digits, 15, 17, and 17. So, yeah, there's that going against Antonio Brown, the other half of the trade, who Miner got, and actually had a great game, 28.1 points for Antonio Brown in this game versus Atlanta. Then Ezekiel Elliott, only 15.4 points. I mean, this is supposed to be one of your, this is supposed to be one of your blue chip superstars. I mean, kind of, I don't know. I mean, last week he had a great game, but this week, I don't know. And he certainly got less than Kenyon Drake, who got 24.50 points for Miner. McCaffrey with 20.3, 5.6 for Henry, who still is one of the glaring weak spots on Miner's team. But don't worry, he basically has until November before he has to even field a team based on who he's playing the next couple of weeks. So he has time to find himself a running back.
Are you alluding to the upcoming combo meal?
Perhaps I am. Ricky Seals-Jones got 0 points. I think Eugene finally dropped him. And 16.7 for Hooper, who LeVar actually just picked up out of the trash can this week. So good pickup there. As I mentioned earlier, Marshawn Lynch only 6.1 points. And he had one of those. He kind of had a repeat of what happened in the Super Bowl, where they didn't pass to him again, or they didn't hand it off to him again on the goal line. Instead, decided to pass. He was not too happy about that, Larry. And then Landry, 11.9 points, 7 for each of the kickers, 3 for the Denver defense, and 7 for Tennessee. Clearly. Yeah, maybe Eugene. I mean, I don't know. Eugene's team still hasn't been the same since the trading has started. Second of all, I mean, I forgot who the tight end that he picked up is this week, but he's at least addressing that as a problem. But I mean, essentially, he's been making a lot of moves here and there, left and right, and it's not been paying off for him. And he's still not fixing the main thing that needs fixing, which is that tight end, and. I guess flex circumstance. Also, I know he was trying to move Mahomes earlier on when he was calling him the greatest quarterback of all time. I think he might have, held on to him past his expiration date. He could have gotten, a lot for him early on if he would have pulled the trigger on that one. He didn't sell high, and now he might be stuck with 2 mediocre quarterbacks, but we'll see. Anyway, your thoughts on this game and these two teams?
Well, I was just looking at the quote-unquote numbers for Ricky Seals-Jones. He actually played in the game. He got 6 targets, 0 catches, outdoing Hockey's Enungwa, who had 5 targets and 0 catches. Right. Is this a low-end coach, too? I mean, he's a low-end trader 4, but you can't. He did start off a red-hot 3-0, to which he uncorked his mouth. Declared himself the greatest coach of all time, but since then he's had a couple of hiccups.
Yeah, I haven't heard much from him lately. Is he okay?
I think he's pulling a Nick.
I'm surprised we haven't heard from Nick. Actually, he should be clamoring to get on this podcast now that he's doing as well as he's doing. Anyway, but go ahead.
This is a very interesting team that like if you look from top to bottom, it's built on the shafting of Dr. Hockey for McCaffrey. The shafting of Nick for Ezekiel Elliott, the attempts to trade off Sammy Watkins and Sanu as blockbuster wide receivers for actual good players has not panned out. Michael Thomas I believe this is his 2nd game in a row with quite mediocre numbers. Last game was 8.7. This is 11.4. Are we seeing a little bit of the Mark Ingram syndrome in New Orleans, derailing some of these superstars? And Kirk Cousins, I don't think you can give anybody Kirk Cousins and Mahomes for anybody. Nobody's going to even look at that kind of a deal. So is this team in the long run built to really go deep into the postseason? I mean, we'll see. I mean, certainly other teams hope he keeps fielding players like Ricky Seals-Jones at the tight end position. A genius superstar coach one might want to get that guy out of it. I'm just saying. And Minor, tip my hat to LeVar Minor. Once again, if you write this guy off for dead, and the Antonio Brown move was just brilliant. 28 points for Brown. Now he gives away Ertz, but then picks up Hooper out of the dumpster and still gets 16.7 more points than Eugene out of the dumpster. He probably picked him out of a hat. Just clicked on a button. Landry's still getting solid. There's Elliott, your kicker that missed the field goal.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Defense. And then Henry, he dropped. I think Whalers might have picked up Henry. I was actually looking at him early this morning. And Drake with 24 points. Whew! Kenyon Drake. I mean, Minor, I got to tell you, he just won't go away.
Yeah, he's like a
I mean, he can crack.
Yeah, he's
I think he had 106 the other week.
No, I'm telling you, he's like a cockroach. You just can't kill him. I mean, like he's just his ability to find. I mean, we talked about this all last season. His ability to find players that on the Sunday would just perform that was on nobody's radar at all. I mean, astounded me. The only thing is that occasionally, I mean, like it was hit or miss. I mean, like he would either, hit the lotto on some of these players that nobody was looking at, or it would be a miss, and he would miss by a lot. But you got to hand it to him. I mean, he was shafted by the auto draft, though he did. He didn't show up, so whatever. I'm not even going to get into that. But anyway, but yeah, to build himself up from that team, impressive.
I have a pair of feet on because this was a little appetizer game for him, and now he gets to feast on the combo meal coming up. things are looking good for Black Ice Dynasty in October.
Yeah, I mean he's in 8th place, 3-2 in the mix with everything, and now he gets like 2, 1.5. He gets as close to a bye week as one can get in this league with the combo meal. So yeah. Yeah, he's got to feel good about his chances, especially through the end of October. All right. Anything else on this game or these two teams?
Eugene might be the nickname the appetizer from now on. We'll see how he does next week.
All right. So where do we want to move to now? All right, let's move to the Knicks game. Nicky Baby versus the Millennials. I don't care what. Why is he still keeping the Fitzmagic thing? That just shows me a lack of, just a laziness that he's calling himself Fitzmagic 2 weeks after the guy hasn't even played. Change it back to Millennials. You're the Millennials. Stop it. All right. So Nicky Baby, once again with the highest score in the league, 152.58 to the Millennials, 123.80 points. All right, on the back of Aaron Rodgers, he got 34.68 points. This was, again, I mean, it wasn't actually garbage time touchdowns, but they were once again trailing by a lot, just like they were in, what was it, the first game? The game against the Bears. But Aaron Rodgers led them all the way back, and they actually could have won this game had it not been for my stupid kicker. But he ends up with 34.68 points to Russell Wilson's 25.92. Keenan Allen, the new Keenan Allen, traded from Eugene's team, from the Appetizers team, 17.50 points. And Odell Beckham had an amazing game at 33.38, including a passing touchdown, and then had a little controversy after that game in terms of making fun of Eli Manning's throwing ability. That Giants team is a disaster. That was a good game, though. Thalian continues to impress, as does all of the Minnesota wide receivers. 24.60 points for Thalian, 21 from Cooper Kupp, who also that was unexpected at the beginning of the season, but now he's been pretty pretty impressive. And Todd Gurley, who we all knew was going to be impressive, 33.30 points, as opposed to Jai, who went down with an injury and only got 2.4 points. 11.8 from Allen, 5.2 from Duke Johnson. Cook, who didn't get one of his 31 or ridiculous point games, only got 6, still was enough to give Nicky Baby the top score of the league, as opposed to Kelsey, who got 15, 13 for Kittle, 9 for Bunches of Funches, 4 for McManus, the kicker, and 8 for Lutz, as opposed to 11 for the Baltimore defense and 0 for the San Francisco defense. So Nicky Baby continues to get points. I mean, there might be some question marks in terms of Cooper Kupp if he's going to be playing next week. But I mean, even with Cook, the tight end, not getting the massive point totals, Nick continues to impress with his point total. I think this game is more about his team than it is about the Millennials. I mean, the Millennials, they had a bunch of Bears that were on bye this week, so I mean, this was the best team that he could field with that, and he also had the Ajay injury, which hurts him even more. Will we now see Cone and what do you call it? Howard as both. Is he going to go with both of the Chicago running backs now? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, but Nicky Baby's team, I mean, he just keeps getting. He continues to be a points factory. And just think about how good his team could have been had he not done certain trades that he's been doing all season long. Although I actually think he worked out better. He definitely worked out better than the trade with Eugene with Allen. I mean, he gave up. I mean, the Allen brothers for Elliott, who has been underperforming. I think it's actually worked out in his favor. But anyway, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, you got what is his name? The Millennials. Millennials has, Thielen and Beckham. That's a solid receiving core right there.
Yeah.
The running back situation, there's really a lot of teams in the league in the same boat. With the Jai going out, Jai wasn't that impressive anyway. Duke Johnson, Notch Johnson was in there. I mean, the Bears running backs will be coming back. Kelsey is probably like one of only 2 tight ends doing anything this season. It's fine, but it wasn't any match for Nicky Baby. I mean, he's just a juggernaut. He's got like 3 players again. I mean, Gurley, Rodgers, I mean, not even Elliott anymore. Now it's a platoon with the Allen brothers and Cooper Kupp. Hopefully Cooper Kupp's not injured too badly. But, I mean, Cook can light it up. I mean, Nicky Baby seems to be able to get 150, 170 at the drop of a hat. This is one of the more dangerous teams in the league. I certainly wouldn't want to be playing Nick Zaveri anywhere near playoff time. Yeah. If you have to put up those kind of numbers every single time against this guy. I don't even know how he does it.
I don't either. I mean, and he's getting it from different places. I mean, look, Cooper Kupp has actually been kind of consistent with his numbers. But I mean, like, Cook will come back with 30 points here and there. I mean, that's basically the difference this week between him getting 152 and 170 something is that he didn't get the numbers from Cook, but otherwise he's getting ridiculous numbers week in and week out. Aaron Rodgers, he has these games where he just has atrocious first halves and then has to heave the ball down the field, with reckless abandon throughout the entire second half, and gets the points there, but he gets it for Nick. I mean, look, Nick improved himself with Keenan Allen. This week, Javarius Allen actually got, his numbers, I mean, he's got 11 points, but I'm just trying to look inside the numbers. So he actually... 8 rushing attempts, 34 rushing yards, 8 targets, 6 receptions, 44 yards, and a fumble lost. I mean, this is better than he's usually been doing. He actually got some targets. Usually it's just like a total of 3 yards for 3 touchdowns on 3 yards, or something ridiculous like that. But I mean, yeah, and then Gurley is just so good. But we all knew he would be. I don't know. I mean, but yeah, I would not want to face Nicky Baby that much, but the Millennials, they can't hang their hat too low. First of all, they did have, they have the running back problem, but they do also still have a lot of the Chicago players out. I mean, this was not the best week to face them, but I do think that they are still a good team, and they could shake it off, but we'll see.
Yep,
right.
We'll see.
Anything else on these 2 games? I don't think so. Certainly not for me.
Nope.
All right. Then we have one more game, which is The appetizer's co-worker. The St. Louis Blues come out with a win. We haven't talked about them in a while. They've been completely off of the menu lately. They served up a loss to the tray. 137.46 to 109.50. Phillip Rivers with 25.36 points to Roethlisberger's 28.6. Roethlisberger was at home, so he still gets the numbers. Interesting. Stephon Diggs with 21.6 points. We talked about just these Minnesota receivers just keep getting just immense amounts of points. Marvin Jones Jr. was, there were a couple of Detroit receivers this week that didn't get the kind of point totals that we've been seeing week after week. But, as I've said, they are points factory, and, 7.8 points. Okay. AJ Green, 17.20 points to Amari Cooper's 2.
2 points.
Yeah. This Amari Cooper thing is very reminiscent of what happened with Mike Evans 3 seasons ago with you, when he just couldn't, you'd play him and he'd get like 2 points or nothing, and you don't play him, you bench him, and that's when he goes off for a ridiculous amount of points. That's kind of what happened. With Tillett. Last week got 26 points, this week 2. The week before that, 3 points, 21 the week before that, and then we all know what happened in the first week with only 2.8 points. So it's got to be tremendously frustrating to have a player like that. David Johnson. Look, we wrote off David Johnson for dead. Maybe the low-end coach, too, knew a little something that we didn't. 21.10 points. He's been pretty good since we made fun of him. I have to hand it to Lombardi there. Sticking with his man. Good for him. Saquon still got more points than him. 28.90 points for him. Dion Lewis, though, 5.8 to Carlos's Hyde's 9.7. Eric Ebron, jeez, what's going on with this guy? 31.50 points. He got that one that, did he get one towards the end, or was that swoop? I don't even remember.
Oh, yeah. He would have been at 50 points if it wasn't for swoop.
Yeah. Yeah, as opposed to Jordan Reed, who only got 3.10 points on that terrible Washington Redskins team. 8.90 points for Davis to 19.40 for Lockett. 0 for Gould. Wow, the Blues has to actually suffer through what I've had to suffer through in terms of kickers, as opposed to Brian. 6 for the New England defense and 4 for Philadelphia. Lombardi, I haven't been paying that much attention to him, but he's actually not that bad a team this year. Now that David Johnson's coming on, he's got some talent on this team. I'm surprised he didn't play Chris Thompson. That's interesting to me. Why did he play Dion Lewis instead of Chris Thompson? What? Because he's a low-end coach, too. That's why. He could have won by even more points. I don't know what's going on here. What was it? I think wasn't this like the second highest total in the league this week? Not.
It was. It was a week for everybody for the most part, except for Nick, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Or maybe that's just low for Nick, 150.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think about this game?
Like you said, the big story here, I think, the Amari Cooper thing, I don't know what Kimmel's going to do to really figure that one out. Painfully so, I think he might just have to keep him in the lineup and just take his lumps when he doesn't do well. Because if you keep trying to play the Cooper game, it's going to drive you mad. Okay, and then David Johnson, I got to tip my hat to Lombardi. I wrote him off as a bust, but he with 21 points and at 17 last week or somewhere in that ballpark, 18 even last week and 16 the week before. He's actually pretty solid there, David Johnson.
I think Rosen has made a huge. I think Rosen has made a huge difference there in Arizona in terms of points for the other players. Rosen himself hasn't gotten that many points. I think he only got like 17 or something like that. But he's actually giving some of the players there an opportunity to get more points where they weren't under Bradford.
Yeah, Bradford's horrendous. I don't know if I can fault Kimmel for not playing Crowell. I wouldn't have played Crowell. 30 points, there's no way you could have seen that one coming. Would have made this a lot tighter.
That's one of those that if you're saying that you would have played Crowell, come on.
Yeah, you're a bullshitter. There's no way.
Yeah, I mean, he could do one of two things. He could move Lockett up to the wide receiver 2 and just, write off Amari Cooper and say, all right, I'm done with you. And then, maybe next week he'll have Mike Evans back in there. I don't know exactly what to do with him. Never mind. I don't even know. I would stop playing Cooper. I just would. I don't like playing around with those kind of guys that are just so inconsistent. But I mean, you're right. If he's not going to do that, where he's just going to bench him or just throw him in the garbage can and let him be somebody else's problem, then yeah, you just play him every week and you deal with the consequences as they come.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I got to tip my hat to Lombardi. 3-2. Same record as a fellow law firm associate there, the greatest coach in the galaxy. So
yeah,
but he made his way to the brunch menu. He's not on the appetizer yet. You have to look a little farther down the menu. He's not 2 for 20 like Odwin and Gayton. Applebee's 2 for 20.
No, I mean, look, Lombardi. I mean, look, he's quietly been doing this. I mean, and he doesn't have. I mean, he's in 7th place right now, right? I mean, he's done it quietly, but consistently. He's bounced back from some of the losses. I gotta hand it to Lombardi. Good for him.
And I haven't heard my team sucks and I hate my life. So different season so far.
Yeah, I know. All right. So anything else? In terms of last week's games, I don't really have anything on that. As far as adieu, before I move on.
No, I think we can get to the next segment for our viewers, or 2 viewers that we have.
Yeah, I know. We're already at the 50-minute mark, so Whalers is going to be unhappy with this. So
most of the him, so he has to be happy with that. We spent like a full 15 minutes on him.
That's true, although he doesn't have as much of an ego as the appetizer because he might, I don't know. He's too busy being upset about the Yankees' loss. I have no idea. Anyway, on the waiver wire, actually, the big fish this week was really what do you call it? The running backs to replace Ajay, $40 for Black Ice Dynasty on Clement. Interesting. Which is actually the first money I've ever seen LeVar spend in the auction, in the free agent auction. So, way to go.
Yeah, he jumped right in.
I know, way to go. You see, you got him. He complained last week about how much you had to spend and whatever, but he ends up getting him. The Blues ended up with Smallwood for only $10, so interesting. He also paid $10 for Mike Davis, so look at LeVar, big spender, hasn't spent in years, finally spent some money. Otherwise, Rogers was picked up for Goodwin. Mack was picked up by the Lightning Rods. That's actually not a bad pickup. Hogan picked up for $4. Shocker. I knew he was going to be picked up by somebody. I was done with him. And then Swaim picked up by Eugene instead of Ricky Seals-Jones. So he finally dropped him. And actually paid $2 for the kicker, Fairbairn, whatever. That's a good pickup. I was actually looking to pick him up. But I was not paying any money for stupid kicker, so whatever. All right. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of...
Well, he picks up Jean-Luc Richard. I love it. Starship. We got a lot of interesting action going on.
And we'll see how it goes with this week's games. All right, which games do we want to start with? We might as well start with the appetizers. Go ahead if you want.
Do we want to start with the 2 for 20?
Yeah, let's start with the 2 for 20. Yeah, let's do...
Let's act like we're at a restaurant ordering. Let's start with the appetizer.
Okay, what would you like for your appetizer, sir? Would you like some Make Audwin Great Again?
No,
would you like
entree.
some, or would you prefer some Gaten Casimir?
2 for 20 an entree though? I'm getting confused. Is it an entree or an appetizer?
I think they're the entree. Sorry, Eugene is the appetizer. They're the entree. So
let's start with the appetizer.
Right. Oh, we want to start with the appetizer. Sorry, you're right. All right, so we'll start with the appetizer. Dave's Secret Crush, being with Tilla Trey. All right, the projection this one is 129.52 to 128.35. He is going to be playing the greatest quarterback of all time once again at New England for the Sunday night game against Ben Roethlisberger going at Cincinnati. I'm going to give the edge to the greatest quarterback of all time. How could you not? Roethlisberger on the road. Mahomes playing New England. I think there's going to be some points there. Sanu versus Tampa Bay versus Amari Cooper versus Seattle. Is Cooper going to get his points this week? Or is he going to be in the doldrums again? What is the questionable tag for Sanu? He has a hip injury and was limited at practice. But he's not in any danger of sitting out. Okay. Sammy Watkins, yes, at New England. Oh, well, looks like Eugene has some players involved in that Sunday night game as well. Versus Mike Evans at Atlanta. I'm going to give the edge to Evans in that. As far as the running backs, Elliott versus Barkley. Elliott playing versus Jacksonville. That's a tough matchup right there. And Barkley versus Philadelphia on the Thursday night game. That's going to be a tough matchup too, but I think Barkley will get the points there, and I'm going to think he's going to edge him out. McCaffrey at Washington versus Carlos Hyde versus the Chargers. I got to give the edge to McCaffrey, obviously, there. And then Swaim. He picks up Swaim. Jeff Swaim from the Dallas Cowboys. What are his numbers even? I mean, he once got to double digits. That's exciting. Going against the toughest defense, one of the toughest defenses in the league, versus Jordan Reed, who's also terrible. I don't know. I don't know who to give to edge to there. And he's going to... All right, well, and then you have Chris Carson, the workhorse from last year, who ended up with, what is that, 13 points last week. Working his horse off for 13 points versus Isaiah Crowell, who we talked about getting 30, going against Indianapolis. I might have to give the edge to Crowell in this one, ironically. And then you have the kicker. I've complimented Eugene on his kicker pickup, and going versus Buffalo. Now, granted, I did something similar where I picked up the quarterback the kicker that was going against Buffalo, and he got me 0 points. So it's possible that could happen again, but I don't think it will. I think he has the edge there versus Bryant. And then the Houston defense playing versus Buffalo. It's a good pickup. Versus Philadelphia at the Giants. Ooh, that's a tougher game. So he's playing Cooper instead of Tyler Lockett, who actually had a good game last week. What is Tilletrade doing? Take out Cooper. I mean, I guess he's listening to you more than me. I don't know. Take out Cooper and put in Lockett.
I suppose.
I'm giving the edge to the appetizer.
Wow, the appetizer better be pretty hungry.
Why, are you going to go with the tray?
That's interesting. We have a lot of food references in this game. So a tray, is he going to have the appetizer on his tray? Let's see. It's very interesting. Mike Evans comes back. Barkley with a tough matchup versus Philly. Like you said, Jordan Reed really doesn't. Swaim? Literally he's trying to do the minor method, I guess, just grabbing any random name. Close your eyes and pick a name out of the dumpster. Well, anyway, something had to be done about Ricky Seals-Jones. I don't blame him there. You got to do something. Elliott with a very tough matchup against Jacksonville. I mean, he had a tough draw against Houston and got 15 points. He salvaged it, but Jacksonville against the run is not that exciting. So why is he not putting in Devontae Freeman, who he's been trying to peddle to me week after week? It's so good. But yeah, it's interesting. McCaffrey has been his one solid shafting this year from Ogden. That's really done well for him. He's done hockey for that. Eugene has ties to the 2 for $20, the appetizer venue. I would give the edge on this one to, dare I say, the appetizer?
I think so.
Because Barkley has a tough matchup against Philly. Evan, Tampa Bay's in a free fall, but they're going to be in a shootout with Atlanta because Atlanta's pass defense is non-existent. Cooper, he's going with Cooper, man. He took out Lockett. I'm surprised you take out Tyler Lockett. I mean, he's been at the very least, consistent.
Yeah.
Crowell, he doesn't want to get burned by 30 points again, so he's shoving him in there. I kind of get that. But Cooper versus Lockett, I think, is going to be Tilletrade's decision before Sunday at 1 o'clock. If I had to pick them, I'm actually going to go with the appetizer. I just don't see enough until it's Trey. to win this one.
Yeah, kind of how I feel. All right. So now we're gonna go to the entree.
Yeah, let's go to the entree now. The 2 for 20.
All right. Which one do you wanna? Which one would you like first? Well, I guess everybody starts off. It seems like they start off against Dr. Hockey. That's the first
Right.
one, and then they go to.
Then they finish up.
He's like the dessert. Actually, it's not even the 2 for 20. I mean, Dr. Hockey is the entree, and then the dessert is actually the lightning rods. A nice lightning.
So after
rod.
Minor finishes up his appetizer, he's on to his entree. Dr. Hockey.
All right.
So unfortunately, things go from bad to stupid for Dr. Hockey because Drew Brees is not even playing. The only player who could possibly do anything on his team is not even playing. So I think that's 76 points with his quarterback.
Yeah.
Even though it says I don't know who he's going to pick up in there. He's now in the Whalers dumpster, quarterback dumpster.
Well, he's got Keenum. He's gonna play. He should
Oh,
play
of course.
Keenum against the Rams, by the way. So great matchup to have him for.
Oh, right.
Um,
Yes. You still got McDonald's in there.
Which means
so,
that both quarterbacks are going to be going against each other. Do you think Goff will have a better game than his opponent this week? I do. I don't know.
yeah, there's a good chance he might do well.
Antonio Brown against Devontae Adams. That's one of the few legitimate matchups in this game.
Is Enunwa going for zeros again?
He might be. I'm not sure. Versus Landry, who actually, 11 points last week, and he's got an even better matchup this week. Enunwa versus Indianapolis. I mean,
do you put in Keenum to kind of neutralize Demaryius Thomas? I mean, is that going to even do anything?
I mean, I guess if you're considering yourself still a team, why not? Is he still rolling with Alfred Blue? I mean, is he going to be? Lamar Miller has
McDonald.
a
I mean, the backup blocking tight end. I don't know. Do we have to email you the memo here? I mean, this is Vance McDonald's got to go.
Ironically, against Hockey's former tight end, Hooper.
Yeah.
So
That is ironic, yeah.
Lindsey and Blue versus Clement and Drake. Oh, yeah. I mean, and then Demaryius Thomas versus Trent. Oof. I will give him the edge in the kicking department. I think Rosas is legit. Yeah.
Hockey's a legit 4-5 though. He's not pretending.
Yeah. All right, so I think I'm gonna go with Minor in this one. Gonna go on a limb and pick Minor in this game.
Enunwa, Lindsey, McDonald, Taylor. I mean, these names, they just don't do it for most teams. I mean, they're not even worthy. They're not even bench material, let alone the starters. I don't know. Is Leonard Fournette ever coming back? I mean, is that what hockey's waiting for?
He played him against you, the savior, I think, and he didn't save anything. In fact, I think there was his lowest score of the Jags may sit Fournette until week 10. Florida Football Insiders report a source having knowledge of the Jaguars thinking expects the team to sit Fournette hamstring through the week 9 bye. Oof. That's gonna be tough. I mean, because he's been pinning his hopes to Fournette. Not gonna be back till week 10. Ouch.
It might be the most abysmal fantasy football season any team has ever had.
And he's had some bad ones too. So I'm assuming you're gonna pick Minor.
This is the lock of the week again.
Is it? Well, we have the dessert to look
Oh,
at.
we do. I'm sorry. I might have spoken too soon. Let's look at the other 2 for 20. The dessert. Let's move on to dessert, shall we?
Oh. I actually.
It's the Stino Swears enjoying the delicious lightning rod dessert menu.
Yes, that's right. I have dessert this week. Matt Ryan going versus Tampa Bay. He'll be home again. I think actually part of the performance problems last week had to do with him being on the road. He's just not as good a road player as he is at the Dome. Also, Tampa Bay tends to be involved in high-scoring games. I think he'll have a bounce-back game there versus Tom Brady in that game that everybody's playing. It seems like everybody has some stakes in that game, that Sunday night game in Kansas City. Ridley versus Tampa Bay, also trying to go for 2 for there. That's kind of what I'm sticking with. In that, the Lightning Rods have Julio Jones, so I feel like they could kind of match each other up in terms of, maybe trying to balance each other out. I mean, Julio Jones should get the better of that matchup, although he hasn't every week yet, so we'll see. But nonetheless, to keep it kind of close there, then Tyler Boyd versus Pittsburgh versus Juju Smith-Schuster. Actually, they're playing in the same game. That's interesting, too. So, I mean, look, you go through the first 3 players. I think the dessert definitely has some potential to maybe even do better than my team. But then you get to the running back situation, and I feel like this is really where we stick our spoon in. Melvin Gordon at Cleveland versus Tevin Coleman versus Tampa Bay. Connor at Cincinnati versus Lamar. Miller versus Buffalo. I don't even know if Miller's playing. He's still questionable. He got in a limited session today, so I don't know. That'll hurt the entrees numbers if Lamar Miller goes instead of Blue. But I don't know. One of these two is going to be some damage on either the entree or dessert. Rudolph versus Brait. I think he just picked up Brait also. Brait going against Atlanta versus Kyle Rudolph versus Arizona. That's fairly even. Crabtree right now versus Brandon Cooks. I still haven't decided if that's exactly who I'm going to play, but right now I have Crabtree in there. Still not sure what's going on in Houston, and especially with Fuller, if he's going to actually be playing this week. And like, I don't just mean literally suiting up like he did last week. I mean actually playing. I don't know if Cooks is going to be playing either. What's the update on him? He's cleared for walkthrough.
He's cleared to walk.
He's trending in the right direction for week 6. Cook's concussion is more of a concern than Cooper Kupp's, but both are expected to suit up against the Broncos. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, if Cooks plays, he could have a good game. And then Bailey, I mean, my kicker versus Tucker. Tucker's actually a good kicker. Jacksonville at Dallas, and the Rams at Denver. Look, he's actually favored in this game. He has a 127.79 to 125.61. He's a favorite. So, I mean, look, I've said this historically. The 1603ers drop a lot of these games to teams that they absolutely shouldn't. So as much as I'm kind of making fun of the dessert, I don't know. I might be stuffed after playing Dr. Hockey. So I don't know.
There's always room for dessert, though.
I don't know if there is, though. I mean, I would hope there's room for dessert. We'll see.
I don't. I gotta say, Dr. Hockey's the lock of the week.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you could have 2 locks of the week, buy one get one. This would be the second lock of the week. Unfortunately, he was slightly edged out by his 2 for 20 menu partner, Dr. Hockey, as the lock of the week. So Gaten Casper he's the dessert of the week. I think it is, but the official title is lock of the week. That's got to go to Dr. Hockey. I'm taking the 1603s in a blowout again as he enjoys his combo meal. His 2 for 20. He feasted on hockey. He has an entree, and now there's room for dessert. So, yeah.
Right.
Has Yahoo already posted you 5-1, or are you still 4-1? Oh, you're still 4-1 for now. But
I'm telling you, these are the kind of games we blow. I'm still nervous about it. But we'll see. All right, where do we want to go next? Do we want to go?
No, now that we've got all the food items out of the way.
We got all the food items out of the way. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, there's two right now. The biggest game of the week right now, I think, is the Whalers and Nicky Baby has the most intrigue.
I think it does too. Let's save that one
in a
for.
row.
I agree. Let's save that one for the end, and let's move on to one of the other ones. I think there's some intrigue actually also involved in this Blues Millennials game. Let's go to that one. So the Blues are, well, or actually the Millennials are favored 132.41 to 123.71. Let's see why. So we got Rivers at Cleveland against Wilson at Oakland. I actually am going to give the edge to Wilson in that matchup. Beckham versus Philadelphia, Diggs versus Arizona, and AJ Green versus Pittsburgh, and Thalian versus Arizona. I'm actually giving the edge in quarterback and wide receivers to the Millennials in this.
Diggs going against Thielen is a very intriguing
That's actually
matchup.
really good. Yeah, that's really interesting, first of all. I mean, AJ Green versus Pittsburgh could be good. I mean, like, I actually don't think it's going to be that. What about Rivers versus Wilson?
Rivers has been, Melvin Gordon is the guy to have in the Chargers team. I mean, he's just ridiculous. Rivers is, he's like one of those fantasy football year in and year out. He puts up numbers. Wilson's benefiting from a running game, so his numbers probably have been slightly lower than usual. Because the horse's ass Mike Davis and Chris Carson have been carrying the load, but he's still got 25. And that matchup.
I mean, it could go either way. Look, I actually think even with the quarterback thing, I mean, I think Cleveland is slightly better than Oakland. I don't think Oakland is, but I don't know. These are all close to me. I mean, because this is a very good wide receiver matchup right here, all around. And then Phillip Rivers, he gets the numbers. He gets them in the fourth quarter usually, but he gets the numbers. So that's actually all right. Let's move on to the running backs to see if there's any difference. All right, David Johnson going against Minnesota. Can David Johnson keep it up? Jordan Howard at Miami. Millennials picked up Alfred Morris. I think that's a reasonably good pick. Going against Green Bay versus Dion Lewis, who I still think is trash, going versus Baltimore. If this game is lost, that's where it's lost for the Blues in my mind. Then Kelsey versus Ebron. A pretty good matchup there.
Well, if Ebron feeds on garbage, I mean, when it's not garbage time, Ebron's been one of the more consistent tight ends, though.
And he's playing at the Jets, so I don't know. But Kelsey, I mean, you got to pick Kelsey, obviously, in that matchup.
Kelsey gets the nod. He's like the second best tight end this season.
And then Funchess versus Davis.
Who versus who?
Yeah. And then Gould, who got 0 points, actually got less than me, and then Crosby last week against Boswell, who, the Pittsburgh kicker, I'm telling you, Mike Tomlin does not, like, he's just a madman. He's like Dr. Hockey. I know he has a lot of points, but I don't trust him really that much. Because he'll do a weird thing where he just won't, he'll go for 2 out of nowhere. I don't know. But I mean, it's still better than 0 points from Gould. And then New England versus KC, and then Chicago at Miami. I'm going to give the edge to Chicago in that. I actually think this is going to be a very close game. This is a tough one for me to pick. But I think the Dion Lewis thing is... Although Alfred Morris is not that good. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm going with the Blues in this one, actually. David Johnson's been coming on. I mean, that combined with Green and Diggs, and Rivers is always consistent. Ebron has been getting way more points than he should. I mean, he's Eric Ebron, for God's sakes, but it doesn't matter. He's doing good in Indy. Millennials, the wide receivers are good, but then you start to get into the running backs, Jordan Howard and Alfred Morris. Despite the good tight end from Kelsey, Funchess doesn't really do it for me. I think Fitzmagic sputters out towards the finish line. I'm going to give this one to Lombardi.
I actually, I'm going to give this one to the Millennials. I think that, I think David Johnson has a tough matchup against Minnesota. And that's just going to be enough. I think this is going to be, look, don't get me wrong, I think this is going to be a tremendously close game.
Do you think both teams break 100?
Yes, I do. I mean, look at their wide receiver power. I mean, look, you look at the top 3 players for each player. I mean, the quarterbacks are pretty good. They get pretty good points, let me say, or they should this week. And the wide receivers, I mean, like Thalian and Diggs are basically going to cancel each other out. And then AJ Green is also really good, as is Beckham. I mean, like you're gonna get over 100 points like there out of those, or close to it with those guys. And the rest of it, I mean, look, if David Johnson can have a good game against Minnesota, then the Blues will win. But I just think Howard will have a decent day at Miami, and Alfred Morris will do fine. And I think Kelsey will actually have a lot of points. Slight edge to the Millennials, but I would not be surprised if the Blues win this one. All right. I don't know. Well, it's fun to have a little bit of a disagreement on one of these games once in a while. We're usually in agreement on a lot of these, so. But I mean,
we're looking for 20 menu all the time. It's obvious.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know. Although I'm picking, I'm picking the dessert over me, by the way, because I always do. Just to be clear, definitely picking the Lightning Rods over the 1603ers this week. So we have that disagreement.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I always do it. I picked Dr. Hockey, and he almost pulled it out. I'm telling you, I always pick against myself. Don't want to jinx it. All right, the Hackstown Hagglers actually leaving the restaurant and going on to a real game with Nick and Jamie. Nick and Jamie, who were just in first place, lost by the tiniest of hairs, by fingernails. Can they claw their way back on the heels of that 1603ers loss to the dessert? All right. Cam Newton at Washington. And Deshaun Watson versus Buffalo. Ooh, Deshaun Watson versus Buffalo. You lucked out here with this matchup, getting Hopkins and Watkins versus Buffalo. Good for you. Well, I mean, Nick and Jamie, basically their entire team's going to play in that Sunday evening game, it looks like. So you have Edelman versus KC. Hunt versus New England, White versus KC, Gronk versus KC. They've actually put in Yeldon. Interesting. Kicker going 11.26 for Gostkowski is the projection right there, and then Seattle defense. For you, you've got Watkins, as we said, Watkins and Hopkins, Woods, who's been great lately. Is Dalvin Cook playing?
He's still not cleared to play. Who knows? Well, it's better than located shoulder. I mean, this is just an injury-plagued mess at running back this year.
Yeah, that's true. Going with Hines again against the Jets. Still sticking with Azuma, or are you moving the nightmare during the season?
A lot of plays. I mean, I don't know. We're going to give him another shot. I mean, Gronkowski's he's been very quiet.
Yeah.
I think this is a matchup where we can afford to play somebody else. I mean, 3, 9, 8. I mean, he did get 13 last week, but Gronkowski, I mean, he's cooled off this season.
He has, but I mean, Burton has actually been pretty good this. I mean, who are they playing that you're afraid to play? I mean, at Miami, I would play Burton. I don't know.
It could. I believe in Azuma. I think he's going to get some looks, and I think that other guy, Croft, for the other tight end for the Bengals, went out with a foot injury last week, so I don't know his status.
All right, well, yeah. I mean, I agree that Gronk, I don't think he's. I mean, I think that Sunday night game is actually going to be high scoring, so Gronk might get some points in it, but I don't know. I think Emmanuel Sanders playing him, that's a good move, even though he's playing the Rams. But Yeldon, another good move, finally playing him. He's been great in Fournette's absence, and Dr. Hockey could have had him in the lineup, but decided to get rid of him. You're playing with Suckup versus Baltimore, and then you guys have the Carolina defense versus the Seattle defense. Seattle at Oakland, and Carolina at Washington. The projection right now is 134.36 to 118.19 in favor of Nick and Jamie. I also didn't mention that they have Robbie Anderson, who's going to be terrible. Look, I'm going to give the edge to the Hackstown Hagglers. I think that I think Nick and Jamie continue to have the problem of playing all of those people in the same game. I mean, they're playing they're too Patriots heavy. And now not only are they Patriots heavy, but they have the opposite team. So one of these teams, so one of these teams has to do badly, which means that half their team is gonna, unless it's a complete and utter shootout, which it might be, but it's still not gonna go to all these players. Oh my god, because they gotta feed Edelman and White and Gronk. I mean, and then you have the kicker on top of that. Yeah, I just think there's too much. They're too reliant there. And then you got Hunt on the other side, which means so you got the opposing running backs. You got White and Hunt, which means one of those two is not going to be running as much because one of the players is going to be killing the clock in the fourth quarter probably, and the other one's going to be sitting on the sideline. So I mean, Nick and Jamie, they have a good team, but they're just too reliant on like one team, and that's the problem. So I'm just until they really address that. I mean, they're starting to with Yeldon. I mean, they have some other pieces, but I mean, it's really pronounced this game. And I think the Hagglers pick it out because of that. Pull out this game because of that. Anyway.
Well, I'm going to pick myself like I always do, and then Nick and this is going to be a nail biter. I mean, last Sunday night game was just enjoyment because it was a joke. We were playing the 2 for $20 menu, but this one's going to be the actual like nail biter. I'm going to be stressed out in this one because how many people are going for Nick and Jamie in this team? Oh my goodness. But like you said, if it's a high-scoring shootout, everybody could be fed. But I hope it's a 3-3 snoozer. Because most likely I will be getting the W on that. I mean, I don't think they have anybody going on Monday night. No, this is it. So Sunday night, we'll know, will be the showdown between the two of us here. And there's a lot of cues here for the Hagglers. I'm not liking that. Everybody's questionable. But I'm sure they'll all play. Like, maybe not Cook, but we'll have to do something about that. But, yeah, I'm picking myself in this one.
Yeah. I mean, if Cook doesn't go and Peterson doesn't go, and then you have to go with Bilal Powell, then I might change my calculation if you're stuck with going with Bilal Powell. Although, to be honest with you, you've been playing with not very great running back performances the last few weeks. So, I mean, I give you some leeway, particularly given the game situation that Nick and Jamie have. I mean, look, it all obviously this all comes down to that Sunday night game. If it is a shootout, then Nick and Jamie can win it. But if it's not, then they're in trouble. I think I'm still going with the Hagglers, but it could swing if that becomes a ridiculous shootout. All right.
And now the game for the second straight week, Whalers is involved in the game of the week.
Yeah, look at that. Miters Whalers versus Nicky Baby. The projection right now is 130.94 to 131.88 in favor of Nicky Baby. Another tiny margin in this one. All right, so quarterback Aaron Rodgers versus San Francisco against Jameis Winston at Atlanta. I mean, you got to give the edge to Aaron Rodgers, though. I mean, Winston. I mean, Atlanta. Those are high-scoring games, but I still will give the edge to Aaron Rodgers. I keep seeing him get stupid points. Keenan Allen at Cleveland against Tyreek Hill at New England. Another mouth to feed in that Sunday night game. My God, this entire week is to be decided on that Sunday night. Geronimo Allison versus San Francisco, taking some points away from Aaron Rodgers there, versus Cooper Kupp, who's playing at Denver. Is Allison even playing? He has a little Q next to his name. Nothing lately. He's on the inactive right now, at least for last week, but they haven't updated him this week. And we don't know what's going on with Cooper Kupp, so 2 question marks there. So we could actually see 2 totally different wide receiver 2s than are playing in this game. So I don't know. Then you have Mixon versus Gurley. This is actually a pretty good running back matchup. I mean, obviously you give the edge to Gurley, but Mixon can hold his own. Mixon is very good. And then you have LaShawn McCoy making an appearance. Wow, look at that. Against Allen, who, frankly, I got to be honest with you, McCoy actually might be able to outperform Allen in this game. Then you have Ertz versus Cook. We don't know which Cook will show up, but you got to give the edge to Ertz there, I would think, playing tomorrow night, the Thursday night game. Then Crowder versus Kittle. This is what the Whalers really needs to clean up, is this Crowder situation. I mean, Kittle is not... Yeah, I mean, Kittle's been fine. I mean, he's 13, 24. I mean, he's basically, other than week 2, has gotten double digits every single week. So Kittle can certainly outperform Crowder here. Then you got Butker, the kicker, again in that Sunday night game, and McManus in the Rams game. And then the Minnesota defense for the Whalers and Baltimore's defense for Nicky Baby. So good defenses there. Look, I mean, he's got, all right, so Whalers has Kamara on a bye. He's got Galladay on a bye. 2 running backs. I don't know. I mean, Hogan, I mean, do you want to put another mouth in there for that game? But, I mean, Crowder is so terrible. So terrible. What has Mike Williams gotten lately? 7.8 and 2.5. All right, you don't want to play him. Well, you just throw Crowder in the garbage can. Just throw the Clam Crowder out. It's spoiled. Find something else in the garbage can. I mean, you gotta look. Let me put it this way. I think Cooper Kupp, even if he comes back, is going to be a little banged up from the injury, so I don't think he's going to get the same numbers that he will. I don't know what's going on with Geronimo Allison, if he's even going to play. In which case, if he doesn't, I guess Hogan has to go in there. I mean, this game could change completely. But I gotta give the edge to Nicky Baby. I think just because of some little things like Crowder, we don't know what's going on with Allison. I think Nick is vulnerable this week. I think he can be beaten, but I don't think he will. I think he's gonna edge it out. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think, Nick, I mean, this is a real... Whalers won 3 in a row. This is why this is the game of the week. Whalers can put up the numbers. He gets decent points. Nicky Baby is just the surprising juggernaut this season. I mean, in the beginning, he had a couple of 170s, so we were questioning it, but he's getting higher rather than lower. So this makes this a really titanic matchup this week. This is really going to be good. Is he going to snap the Whalers 3-game skid, or is Whalers going to just keep rolling? You beat Nick. That's saying something, this, because Nicky Baby, I mean, you got to bring points. Nick rarely gets under 150.
Yeah, and the thing is, the Whalers' win streak has not included the entree or dessert menu either. Like, he's still got those coming up.
I mean, yeah, he's got the 2 for 20.
So he's doing this without any of those games buffering the score. So pretty impressive there, and it will be a statement if he can actually win this game.
Yeah, yep. I actually wish my 2 for 20 was later on in the season.
I wish I would have had them to start the season and to end it.
Yeah, so my pick in this game, this is a very, very close one. I'm going with Nick if he plays Crowder. If he keeps Crowder, I'm going to go with Nick.
So you're going with Nick no matter what? I don't understand. What did you just say? You're going...
Unless Whalers does something with Crowder, I'm going to have to go with Nick. As of right now, I just don't see Clam Crowder. That's where Nick has the edge.
Yeah, I agree too. All right. Well, that should do it for all the games this week. Obviously, we've had your lock of the week. My lock of the week is the same. It's clearly going to be minor feasting on Dr. Hockey for my lock of the week, as is yours. What's your upset of the week?
Kind of interesting with this game because Nick and Whalers is too close to call. Blues and 6 Magic. I don't really care. Those teams are equal. I mean, it's 2 for 20. I mean, in my game, in Nick and Jamie, I think it's very, despite the disparity, I mean, we've never been one. Projection numbers have always been skewed for Haggers. Ridiculously. I don't know. That's another close game. It's hard to get the upset of the week because everything is so. I would never pick the 2 for 20 menu to upset anybody, first of all. And that would be quite the upset. I'd have to say, there's only one left. I guess Millennials could upset Lombardi.
I think Whalers might do something to, and change the Crowder situation, and then he could upset Nicky Baby. Because here's the thing: if he dumps Clam Crowder in the garbage can, nobody's gonna pick him up, and if they do, they're an idiot. Just get rid of him. There's nothing to hold on to there, and I think that he will. I think he will make the right decision and dump him, and maybe upset Nick this week. That is that. I'm going with that for the upset of the week. Yeah.
All
right. Yeah, so we're almost at the halfway point of the season. After this week, we will have actually surpassed the halfway point of the season. So huge, the games just keep on getting more important as time goes on. I mean, and it's so close. I mean, there's 2 teams that 4-1. There's 2 teams that are 0-5. And then the bulk of the teams are 3-2, all the way down from 3 to 8th place. And then there's 2 teams that are 2-3. You have the Millennials and Tillet Trey, who are down there trying to get a win, and they could be right back up, in that category as well. So, I mean, and everybody's playing for points at this point. I mean, there is still a ways to go. There's still half a season to go. But, I mean, people need points. So,
it this way. So if I hang on to beat Nick and Jamie, you destroy the lightning rod, which obviously is going to happen. Black Eyes Dynasty will destroy Odwin, which is obviously going to happen. Dave's Secret Crush, if he takes care of Killer Trey, and somebody, no matter what, out of Nick or Whalers will win. And then the Blues takes care of it. We'll have a 7-way tie for first. Look at that. 7 teams will be 4-2.
yeah, but then I would be fine with one if I actually didn't lose to the dessert menu and Nick and Jamie.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry, yeah. If there was an uprising, if you spilled your dessert all over yourself.
So that's what you need to happen in order to have. Otherwise, it's all that tie for second place if that doesn't happen. But I like I said, like I said, I'm picking, the lightning rods to beat.
Somehow the lightning rods is favored in that.
Yeah, he is.
What scorekeeper? Who's doing the scoring?
I mean, I think every game where I've been the underdog has been the weeks that I've won. I mean, I think I might have been the overdog against Tillet Trey, and that was the week that I lost. So, it means nothing to me. Well, all right. Just over an hour and a half long. So, Whalers, we're cutting down on the time a little bit. You should be happy with that. All right. Yeah. All right. So for myself and for Geese and for the rest of the league, we look forward to seeing you next week. Have great games this weekend. Yeah, we'll see you then.
All right. Peace out, people.